So, hi everyone, and welcome to our webinar about employer branding on social media. I'm going to share my slides first. Let's see.
There you go.
Yes. All right. So my name is Stephanie. I'm the marketing lead at Simple. Next to me stands Mark. He's the founder of Simple, and we have a very special guest today, all the way from California.
Chicago.
Oops, sorry. And we're going to talk about employer branding and especially on social media. So here you can see the agenda for today. If you have questions during the webinar, you can ask them in the chat. You can ask them right away because we're really happy to make it a bit more interactive. That's why we also are going to launch a poll. Maybe we can launch the first one already.
Yes, and just double checking because I see Anastasia saying she cannot hear us. Can you just kind of confirm you can hear us and can see us at this moment? Yes, most people can hear us. Okay, that's cool. All right, then we'll start the first poll just to check how many of you are already active with employer branding. So you can see the poll on the right-hand side. And just, sorry, let's do this here. That poll should be live.
Yeah.
Okay. And in the meantime, maybe you can just present or talk what we are doing at Simple.
Yes. So at Simple, we provide qualified candidates, and we do this through targeted advertising on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and also TikTok. And we do this in a user-friendly software. We analyze 11 million data points per month. We've done over 9,000 campaigns. And here you can see also one of our customers. We also integrate with some major ATSs, which you can see over here. All right.
Okay. And then, as you can see, we're putting a lot of speed in our presentation so we can move along quickly. We're very happy to be able to have James Ellis joining us. James is the author of several books. I'll let James present himself. But I read 2 of his books. I was very impressed, and that's why we decided to invite James over, and James will kind of take us through his thinking on employer branding, and we'll build on that. So James, the virtual floor and the course.
Thanks very much. I do notice there's still a lot of chatter about not hearing us or connection lost. So I don't know if that's something we want to address. I can vamp for a minute while you
let's just see
smash keyboard. Oh, Rami's back. Okay. We got some people hear us.
I can hear you guys. All good for me.
Okay.
Because we are plugged into the Ethernet, so it's a good point. Let's just pause for 30 seconds.
Yeah, I think we're good.
All okay. No problems at all.
Yeah,
maybe those people who have no connection, can you maybe just refresh your browser window?
I promise we'll still be here when you get there.
Yes.
I promise. None of us are going anywhere. I got the whole hour booked.
Still nothing. Okay, that's weird.
Yeah.
It's working after refreshing the page.
Okay.
So let me just double check because we are here on.
Yeah, I hear you just fine, and I'm half a world away.
Actually, but you are on the internet. Can you just go to? Yeah. Works for me. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope those people who are able to join can continue to join. For those who still have connection issues, fear not. We will be sending out the full recording of this after refreshing didn't work for me. I'm just gonna, just to be on the safe side, should we refresh on our end? Can you just go to speedtest.net?
Yeah.
Or just do one check, people. Just to make sure that there's no lag on our end.
But maybe James can already start because everyone is hearing him.
Yeah, that's a good question. Is everybody seeing and hearing James?
I'll talk.
Yes.
That's a good. Okay. Wow.
Okay.
So
I feel like I should apologize to all.
James,
I'm going to apologize to all these people who can hear me. That's too bad.
Yes.
We'll fix that. But anyway. Well, I'll just talk. It's what I do best, really, more than anything.
All right.
else.
Well, we'll bring up the slides anyway for those people who can see it. But you go along and have a chat.
Yeah, so I'm James Ellis. I'm based in Chicago, which is very close to California. Very close. It's like maybe a 20-minute walk, 20-minute walk tops. No. Anyway, I'm the employer brand nerd. If you Google the phrase employer brand nerd or who is the employer brand nerd, sometimes my picture pops up, which is really weird. But if Google says it's a thing, I guess that must be a thing. All I do is think about employer branding. And most of my focus lately has been on bringing employer branding to companies that thought they couldn't afford it, that they were either too small or they were in a really boring or unsexy industry or whatever. Everybody has a reason, whether it's super well regulated. But the truth is every single company has the opportunity to use their employer brand, to take advantage of it. It doesn't require stacks and stacks and stacks of cash. It can if you want it to, but the same way you could buy a bicycle or you can buy a Ferrari. These things both get you to the other side of town or California. So that's really what I'm focused on here. Stephanie, I apologize. I'm going to tease you about California the entire time. Out of love. So let's jump to the next slide if we can. All right. So let's just kind of set some baseline stuff because honestly, employer branding is messy. And even though it was built and designed on your side of the pond, it's come back to our side of the pond and we've kind of changed it a bit. And I think the world is still grappling with what employer brand is. So this is as close to a classic definition of what employer brand is as possible. It's what an individual thinks it's like to work there based on all the things they've experienced, their touch points, their what the recruiter says, what the hiring manager says, how much they like the product, the stock price, all that stuff impacts how they see your company. And that's a pretty straightforward, clean definition. It says that what your leadership is doing, what your product team is doing, what your customer service team is doing, what your recruiters are doing, what everybody is doing impacts that sense of what's it like to work there. The problem, of course, is that if you own the employer brand, you're not in charge of those things. You can't change how customer service works. You can't change what the product selection is. You can't stop the lawsuit from somebody saying the CFO grabbed their butt, right? You can't change that stuff. But at the same time, it impacts the employer brand and you're responsible for it. So employer brand is a very strange job, which is primarily about influencing others. How do you get people who you have no authority over to say, look, minor changes in what you do, what you say, how you say it will help align the entire company around some core ideas of what we believe in, what we think is true, so that we can hire the kind of people we want to hire. Simple case in point. If you're a company that cares about innovation and you talk about innovation, you will attract people who care about, yes, you guessed it, innovation. And when you hire those people, the company becomes more about innovation and the flywheel begins. You become more and more about innovation. If you put messages out about innovation and autonomy and support and leadership and mission and status and development and career ladders, you don't know what people are showing up for. And you hire them and you become more nothing, right? You're not any specific idea. The reason Facebook became Facebook was because it had a clear, composed idea, this idea of move fast and break things. It was such a different way of approaching work that the people who wanted to move fast and break things said, there is no other company but Facebook. And that is how they were able to attract and hire great talent until they started destroying democracy. But that's a separate conversation. We don't have to get into all that. Want to jump to the next slide? So, okay, we good?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you mute yourself? Because I'm getting a lot of echo. Yeah, thank you. Merci. So here are what I refer to as the 3 ironclad rules of activating that brand. So if your brand is simple, it doesn't have to be an EVP. You don't need all that architectural nonsense. It can just be, this is the idea of what we stand for. If you're Facebook, it's a move fast and break things, at least it was. If you're SpaceX, it's about let's go to Mars. If you're Boeing, it's about let's put the world in planes, right? Every company has a broad idea of why they exist. And that includes 100-person biotech companies. That includes 200,000 companies there filling warehouses. Everybody has a reason for being. Everybody has a reason for wanting to attract people. So these are the 3 ironclad rules of how you activate that brand. The first thing is you have to focus. Like I said early, you can't just have this scattershot set of messages all over the map because I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're all about. You're giving me too much information and I don't know how to weigh and evaluate. Remember, for the most part, your company is a complete and total stranger to most people. They are walking into your brand experience completely blind. They don't know what you're about, right? Or they have a very weird expectation. They have a very limited expectation. Maybe they've bought a product, but they haven't thought about what it's like to work there. So you have to focus your messaging and everything you say. And when I say messaging, yes, it's social. Yes, it's ads. Yes, it's career site. Yes, it's job postings. Yes, it's how you communicate hires. Yes, it's how you communicate to people. Sorry, you didn't get that job. It's every touch point you have needs to tie back to some core ideas. Now, there's kind of like a corollary message right here, and that is, and it's one of my favorites, actually. It's this idea that the story and the topic are not the same. When I went to journalism school back in the dinosaur ages, they talked about this idea. What they would do is they would actually assign you to go cover a city government meeting of some sort. You're like, hey, go pretend you're a journalist kid and go cover that meeting. And you come back and they say, this person said this person said this person said this, and this person, this is what got voted on, this is what passed. He goes, well, that's the topic. What's the story? What does all this mean? How do you approach it? Could the story be about how the big government beat up the little guy? Is it about how one person took over, it kind of filibustered and made their voice heard over the chorus of bigger business? Is it a story of two individuals fighting? Is it a story about two big ideas fighting? What is the story? Now, I bring this up because you do a million things in your company. There's all sorts of touch points kind of going out. You're going to talk about you got this award. You're going to be at a conference. Your stock price went up. Your stock price went down. You releasing a new product. You got new roles to fill. Those are the topics. How you talk about that is the story. And it's your job to get everybody who talks to align their topic to the story you're trying to tell. So if you're talking about innovation, if that's what your company cares about, hey, we offer these benefits, medical and dental, and what, you're Europe. You don't need that stuff. You're already set up. Good for you. Not so much over here, you may have heard. But you've got paid time off, and you've got dog insurance, and you've got this, and you've got that. It's easy to just list that as bullets. But if instead you say, hey, our company knows that if we take care of our people, they show up and they help us innovate. Imagine just that line as kind of the top line of your benefits section on your career, on your benefits section of a career site. That changes how people perceive you. It's not just here's a bulleted list of things that you offer. It's a reason why. And that reason why aligns to the bigger idea. And so why they start to look at your career sites and your social and your job posting, and they just see innovation, 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 innovation. They start to realize this is a company that cares about innovation. So the more you create to align your story to the topic, the more you create that focus. Okay, we'll run through the next. So that's really what the Orient is about.
James,
yeah.
Just before going to the next slide, we're just going to do one thing because there's some people still struggling.
Yeah.
We're just going to refresh the window on our end. We'll make me the presenter, and then I hope, and then I'll show your slides from my side. So okay. Let's just see. Sorry.
Okay.
James, can you hear me?
Sure can.
Okay.
For those of you listening at home, it was really distracting watching all these chat messages run. Like, what am I missing? What is happening?
I can imagine. I can imagine. All right.
All right. Wow. Inception. Okay.
So, well, just do one check. Has the problem been solved now?
You have to put on your volume.
Yes, serious echo.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to confirm, James,
put down your mic.
Put down my mic.
Yes.
Okay.
And the volume.
Okay.
There we go.
Are you refreshed now?
I've already did.
You already did. Okay.
Yeah.
So actually, it looks like just to know one. Let's do one more check. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Perfect. That's fantastic. And just let's go one time to the audience. Now in the audience, we hope this has sorted out the issues. I have a resounding yes from Nicholas, who had been struggling.
Okay.
So we're just going to look for 2 more yeses.
Can you just stop sharing? Then I can
Yeah.
share it again.
Okay.
Let me see.
All right. Yes, it's an infinity window, but we're sorting that out.
There you go.
Okay, so apologies for all of those. We're back on track. Connection has been reestablished. And James, once more, the floor is yours.
Okay.
Without being interrupted on the right hand.
That's all right.
By the
That's all
chat.
right.
But it has been very informative until now. All right. All yours, James.
So focus is all about focusing on a core idea. Orienting is bringing everything to bear on that core idea to tweak and twist and align all of the topics and stories to align to the core idea. And then you get to what I refer to as SADR, which is specific, attractive, different, and real. Meaning your brand must communicate how you are specific, how you are different, how you are attractive, and how you are real. Too many companies just stop at attractive. Frankly, they think attractive is all you need to do. Isn't that a nice shirt? I like that. They think it's just about being a cheerleader, that, like, where's a great place to work? It's a great company. We're fantastic. We have a great culture. Great. It's all about being attractive. And the truth is, attractiveness without the specificity, without the difference, without the real, it's garbage. Because right now, any company who cares about their employer brand, they seem just absolutely dead set on telling you how great they are without telling you how or why, or most importantly, to whom. Right? A company may be great to you, but they are not great to me, and that's fine. Brand perception is individual, remember? What you think about Adidas and what I think about Adidas is not the same, but we're both right. So saying you're attractive and focusing on attractive means you're trying to focus on the things that everybody finds attractive, and that gets really generic and really boring in a hurry. So if you focus on specifically how you're interesting, specifically how you're different, and focus on things that are real, you build a foundation of telling a story that is way stronger than just, we got an award, we're attractive, it's a great place to work, great culture, which is garbage. Really, it's the sugar of employer brand. It feels good, it tastes good for about 20 minutes, and then you get the sugar crash and you get fat. So don't do that. So you got to get you got to get all SADR. And if you do that, actually you can flip it. You can say, how do you make sure you're doing that or you're being that? By communicating that way. So think of your next LinkedIn post. You could say, this is a social media channel anyway, we might as well talk about LinkedIn. It's bound to happen. So let's say your next LinkedIn post is about how your CFO is going to a conference, because CFOs are always going to conferences. What's up with that? So they're always going off to conferences, being big shots to somebody else. And most people, when they post that on LinkedIn, because they've got nothing else to post, they don't know what to post. They say, hey, join our CFO at this conference that you can't actually get into that costs $4,000 to enter. And it's just this garbage post. But if you write, hey, here's a slide that our CFO is going to share in 2 days at this conference. Notice how the line is doing this thing. Notice how we're focusing on this idea, showing how innovative we are. In fact, that's a horribly written post. Maybe I do it this way. Maybe I say, in 3 days, our CFO is going to present this slide to this conference. And we can't wait for more people to understand the investment we're making in broad scale innovation in the blank, blank, blank industry. That is specific. That is different. That is real. And it's attractive to somebody. Bang, 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 bang. That's how you write things. And the truth is, most people don't spend the 3 seconds it takes to write that. They're just filling LinkedIn. Someone told them, here's your editorial calendar for social, fill it up. And that's all they do. They say, okay, just stuff it like a Christmas goose. And they don't take the time to think about, is this being specific? Is this being attractive? Is this being different? Is this being real? All right, let's bump to the next slide. All right, so job postings, near and dear to my heart, and they're not job descriptions. I hope I don't have to explain that to you, but mostly it's this. Job descriptions are legal documents. Job postings are commercials. So you're allowed to say a lot more. You're allowed to be interesting. You're allowed to engage. They do occasionally eat geese in Chicago. I don't. I'm more of a ham guy, but that's just neither here nor there. But thanks, Sean. Great question. Honestly, let's have the question. So the job posting is kind of the coin of the realm. And when you talk about your hiring, when you talk about how you're hiring people, there are 3 simple ways to make your job postings better without forcing you to hire a full-time copywriter or investing a lot of time in tool sets that use AI to make your postings better or whatever, or scoring your postings, which are fine. They're good. There's nothing wrong with them. But here are the 3 things. If you want to make the biggest possible impact, this is what I do. Write a headline. Most job postings are bland as warm oatmeal. They're horrible. They're like wallpaper paste. No one's interested. No one likes reading them. And frankly, if you go to a job board and you type in project manager, 4,000 jobs from companies you've never heard of, pick. Hey, it's only your life-changing advice. Pick, have fun. It's only going to change the course and direction of your entire life. Pick one. It's a fool's game. But if you write a headline, something interesting, something compelling, something a little different, I don't know, maybe something SADR, just saying, you can actually say something different and attract people. Now, the headline is not there to explain why you should have this job. The purpose of the headline, as it is in social media, as it is the subject line, as it is headlines and articles, is to get you to read the first paragraph. The purpose of a headline and a job is just to get you to click, to say there's more inside. So it can be a little clickbaity, but it doesn't have to be. It can be engaging. It could be clever. It can be witty. Depends on what your brand is. And you put a headline at the very, very top, and it will increase the number of people who click on that job. They're interested in what they say. Okay, so Rami has a great question. So that's a technical question, but this isn't about the title of the job. When you post in an ATS, you're posting a job where you have the title of the job, and then you have this big open window called job description, or just description is usually how it is in the form field. If you write a headline and you wrap it in H2 tags, which you can do very easily, and most job boards will accept some very basic headings, it makes it look like a headline. It is the first line of the job posting. It is searchable. It pops up. Usually a lot of job boards say, here's the job posting, and they show the first 20 words of the job posting, and they all sound the same. If you say something different, it's engaging. It's attractive. It's honestly, the bar is so low. Just saying anything, puts you in a winning position. Saying something actually legitimately clever, big win. Okay. Then you write a paragraph about the company. What's the company trying to do? What is the change it's trying to make in the universe? Because, yeah, it may be a company that makes bottle caps, but it's not just making bottle caps because they like bottle caps. They're trying to do something. They're innovating. They're changing. They're supporting people. And whatever it is, what's the company trying to do? And then a quick paragraph about what the team is trying to do to support the company. Just creating that through line of how any job impacts the company as a whole makes that job more attractive. So yeah, you could absolutely hire a copywriter and make poetry. And if you can, do that, please. We should set the bar higher for job postings, because right now they kind of suck. But if in the meantime, here's 3 simple ways to make them better. You're muted.
Sorry, there, I'm back here. Again, first of all, thank you very much, James, for that very interesting post. We'll segue into the next part immediately. Just want to apologize once more. We're in touch, or Lara from the marketing team is currently in touch with the people from Webinar Geek. They do confirm his show, unfortunately, is on their end. That's why some people are not able to log in. But again, fear not. We are recording this, and you'll be sending the recording straight after the email. So we still have about more than 100 people still connected. So thank you for sticking with us. Okay, James, thank you for doing that. We talked, when we were preparing for the webinar, that this was a nice segue into actually kind of us picking up and talking about. So maybe one question from Cecilia. We'll tackle that. Why don't you switch the order? What's in it for the candidate? And more about the job company itself. James, I'm not sure. You want to pick on?
That's a great question. No, it's a great question. The truth is, the what is hard to describe. It takes a little time. And so if I'm going back to journalism school here, it's called the inverted pyramid. You start with the most compelling piece of information first, and you get slightly more narrow, slightly more focused. Right now, for most people, yes, if you have a what and you should use it, absolutely. But for most company, they couldn't begin to understand what's in it for them. I've seen most career sites. It's all about how great the company is. It has nothing to do with the person at all. That is a bridge too far for most companies. Yeah. If you have that, use it. This level of how to write better job postings is about what is the quickest, fastest, most minimum viable kind of solution to elevate what you're doing to make them more effective. This isn't the sum total of everything you should do. If you have more about the what's in it for them, embed it in there. In fact, that is probably the best headline. I was working for a big global company, and they were trying to hire a head of finance or something, or head of marketing. I don't remember, but it was clearly a job where we were in Chicago and we knew the job was going to come from New York, and we would have to bring them in for interviews. And they said, wow, we're so hard you're having such a tough time getting people to even look at the job posting. I said, well, do you have to fly them in for the interview? They said, yeah. I said, well, then why isn't the headline Want a free trip to Chicago? Well, I mean, even if it's not like a fun-filled 7 days, all expenses paid kind of a vacation, it's still a reason to click, and it's different. And it aligned very much with that company's kind of tongue-in-cheek sensibility, right? That feeling. So that's a way of getting people to understand this isn't just a job. This is about how this impacts you. And the more you show how it impacts them, the more powerful you come across, the more clear you come across, the more attractive you come across. So it's a valid way of doing it, but we're just kind of solving the same problem from two different angles. And sometimes it doesn't quite add up. But yes, I think I take your point. Talking about what's in it for them is always the way to go if you know how to do that.
Right, cool. James is going to stick around. I hope, James, right? Unless your connection falls through.
I got coffee.
You got a coffee? Perfect. We'll talk a bit about how you can now use that knowledge, that approach, and try and develop that for an online campaign and how you can test different kind of messaging. Stephanie will talk about that. In the meantime, please don't hesitate to continue sending your questions in either the chat or in the questions box, and then we'll pick them up at the end and regroup there. Stephanie, floor is again all yours.
Thanks, Mark. And thanks, James, again. So like Mark already said, if you want to do employer branding on social media, then you should definitely test, because it's not if you're thinking that this is a good phrase or this is good copy or this is a good visual, that your audience is thinking the same. So why are we so convinced that you should do employer branding on social media? Well, first of all, 20% of the job seekers is actively looking for a job, and they're looking on job boards. But 80% of them, they are not actively looking for a new job, and you have to reach them where they are every single day on social media: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn. Now, why social media? Well, first of all, it's very cheap to attract candidates. It's also easy to measure. Like I already said, we like experimenting. We like seeing which copy resonates best within our audience, and you can easily measure that on social media. And of course, you can reach a really broad audience. Here you can see some worldwide numbers. Of course, that is worldwide, so that's quite a lot. You have video views per day, which is more on Facebook and Instagram because it's already an old platform. TikTok is quite recent. But this was very interesting also for us. 70% of the users of Facebook and Instagram is actually older than 25 years old. And 52%, well, a bit more, is actually older than 29 years old on TikTok, which is quite interesting because we thought also that TikTok was only for happy dances and for youngsters, which is not the case. So you can definitely reach your audience on those social media platforms. Now, we want to make a difference between organic postings and paid postings. On the left side, you can see an organic post. On the right side, a paid post. You can see that it's sponsored, of course. You have more call to actions. And the advantage of it is also that you can reach your audience within those social media platforms with paid advertisements. So you pay media budget to Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or TikTok, and then you can actually reach your target audience. Now, before you can actually launch those paid campaigns, there is some setup which you need to get in place before you can actually start. Of course, you have different social media platforms. You have your website. You have maybe an ATS system. You also maybe post some vacancies on job boards. And you need to set up the tracking correctly, like I already said, and you can measure because you're paying for it and you want the best results out of your campaigns. I would definitely recommend you to install Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager. This is a piece of code that you can install on your website, and you can easily track all the things that a visitor takes on your website, but also on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and all the social media platforms you use. Mark is going to share the link for our Simple Academy because I'm not going into detail into this technical setup because it is a bit difficult and boring as well. And we're here to talk about employer branding.
Maybe just a very short, just to explain, we have a Simple Academy where we have basically grouped all our white papers, all our webinars. We have a couple of specific ones on how do you set up your tracking, etc., etc. So basically, I'll share the link in a couple of minutes, and then you can go there and register.
It's here, the call to
Okay.
action. Yeah. All right. Now, before you actually start with your advertising, you can have a look at the ads library of Facebook and Instagram and also TikTok. There you can find all the ads that your competitors are running at this moment. And what is important, think not about your competitors of your company, but think about the competitors of your target audience, because you want to reach the same audience as your target audience. So have a look at the ads library. Mark will also share both.
That's why I'm here. I'm sharing stuff. That's my only role today, right? It's explaining why we don't have a connection, and I'm sharing all our links.
Yes.
Apart from that, I need to shut up.
Okay. So once you have done some research about what your competitors are doing, then of course you need to build your advertisements. And like James already said, we're also a big fan of being specific, being attractive, being different, and being real, because everybody can say play hard, work hard, but that's not something specific for the job role, or that's not something specific for the company that you're advertising for. So if you have different copy, if you have different visuals, then you can run some A/B tests. And what is an A/B test? It's actually a test which you run on a social media platform where you have two different variations of it, of your advertisement. And then after a couple of days, you will immediately see the results coming in, and you will see which one is performing better for your audience. Now, let's do some polls over here. So first of all, here you can see an A/B test which we've run for Brussels Airport, which is a client from us. We have made the same copy, the same call to actions. We used their logo, but we used a different visual. So I wonder, which visual do you think that worked best for the electrician that we were searching for them?
All right. We have about, biggest part of 95% of people think the visual on the right is working best.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's actually what we thought first as well, because of course you show the team, you show someone working. But after a couple of days, we saw that the left one had more applications and the cost per application was cheaper than the one on the right. So here you go. Then another one. You can also test function title, because here, Neuhaus, we were testing the same visual, same copy, but we used a different function title. They were looking for maintenance supervisor or team leader maintenance, which was of course the same, but they didn't really know which function title would resonate best within the target audience. So let's see what you think.
It's about, again, the picture on the right seems to be what people think is working better, team leader maintenance.
Yes, that's actually correct. We were quite amazed by the results. The one on the right had 41 applications, and the cost per application was 12 euros compared to 63 for the other one. So of course we should have left one down, and we went further with the one on the right. And then the last one, you can also test platforms. Here we had the same visual, same copy, same function title, but the one on the left is Instagram feed and the one on the right is Facebook feed. We were looking for a sales manager for Tom & Co, which is a brand for animals, animal food, etc. Which one do you think that worked best to search for a sales manager?
Interesting race. Let's say half-half with a preference for the left for Instagram.
Okay. Well, actually, the one on the right, Facebook feeds, worked really, really better. We had 76 applications for only a cost of almost €2. And I want to say this is not usual. So this is a cost that is really, really cheap. We were also surprised by it. But I guess sales managers for dog companies, dog lovers, are more on Facebook than compared to Instagram.
What's interesting is that, I mean, obviously everybody knows that pictures of dogs and animals work very well on the internet. But in this case, going back to James' point, it is, specific, it is attractive, but it's also relevant for this audience because they are actually selling these products. So,
all right. So once you have thought about, okay, about what your competition is doing and about what you want to A/B test, then of course you need to set up your campaign. Now, for us, there are 4 key elements to run a successful campaign on social media. Targeting, campaign copy, visuals, and your vacancy page. They all need to be attractive, of course. I'm not going into detail on targeting and vacancy page because it will bring us into lots of details, but I'm going to talk about
and you have the tips from James on how to make the best possible vacancy or job post already. So
yeah. So we're going to talk about campaign copy and the visuals, which are the most important ones to run employer branding campaigns. First of all, like James already said, think about what's in it for the candidates. This is really important. Make it unique, make it specific. Think about something really specific for your company, which makes it interesting to work for. Think about what is the requirement that a candidate needs to have to work at your company. Of course, you want to have a master, you want to have that much of experience, you want to maybe that he or she speaks 4 languages, but think about what is the absolutely requirements to have. And then avoid cliches. Try to be original, try to be, make it fun, you know. People that want to apply, they do want to have a nice feeling with your company. So think about, make it original. Here you can see an example of some bad copy. It's not that bad, but
we improved it.
We improved it, yes, yeah. We improved it. So we were very specific. Of course, are you an engineer? There are lots of kind of engineers. So be specific about which engineer you actually search for. Then this was a company with smaller brewery, and it's of course in Unique Abbey where they produce nice beer. So talk about that in your copy because it makes it unique. And then they also had a weekly Friday afternoon off. Wow, this is something that you really need to show because it's specific for your company. Here you can see some examples of James to attract actually like the audience to be original within your copy, because of course, like I already said, you're talking to passive job seekers. They're not actually looking for a job. They're just scrolling on Facebook, and you need to pop out with your advertising. So think about an attractive headline, so they immediately stop scrolling and they think, oh, maybe that's something for me. And then, of course, you have to build some attractive ads. It's also something visual that they need to see. And all platforms are different. And Meta, that's Facebook and Instagram. And you have also TikTok. TikTok is only video, so you have to think about that. On Meta, you can make a bit more, you can write a bit more copy. On TikTok is really a video-based platform. And of course, the aspect ratios need to be correct. TikTok is mainly vertical, and they actually see it on their smartphone. Now, which pictures do you need to use? Use authentic pictures. Also, James said, show your team. Well, that's something that we really are a fan of because people want to work. We want to know with who they are going to work and where they are going to work. So show your team, show maybe the office, and make it thumb-stopping because people are scrolling a lot. Nowadays, it's 160 meters on Facebook only. So make it really thumb-stopping. Per day. Yeah. So make it really thumb-stopping. Think about why people have to stop scrolling. And use uniform communication. What do I mean by that? Well, show your brand, show the same colors on the visuals, show the function title as well, and use the same colors and the same visuals also on your vacancy page. Because of course, people want to click on your advertising, come to the vacancy page, and they want to know that they are in the correct place to actually apply. And like I said, keep the platform in mind. Facebook and Instagram is totally different compared to each other, and TikTok is yet another channel as well. Never ever use stock images. I know you can find lots of images on the internet, but they're not original. You know, people really want to see the company. They want to see your brand. They want to see your team. So, and you can just make those pictures with your smartphone. You don't have to hire a professional photographer for that. And don't use too much text on your visuals itself, because Facebook doesn't really like that. It needs to be thumb stopping. So just show your company, your logo, and maybe then the function title, what you are looking for.
All right. Now for the shameless plug for our software. We just want to show kind of, very kind of 30 seconds what you can do with the software. So it will help you once you set up your targeting and you tell, in this case, if you would be looking for a digital marketeer for Ernst & Young, you give us the targeting. With our link with ChatGPT, we'll kind of set up and do a proposal of text that will be written automatically. You can obviously change any of the words. But this will help people, working on a first proposal, which is always easier than just working with a blank page. And then once you've done that, you can just either upload your logo, take one of the logos you have uploaded before, you choose a logo, you choose a couple of pictures, and then kind of automatically the ads will be set up with kind of a banner with the title of the function. You'll see we're using the colors from the logo. Then we'll make a couple of variants. So we will do automatic A/B testing of the campaign. If, for instance, in some cases, you still need to crop the picture, you can do that within the software. So there's no need to use Canva. You can do all of those changes in our software, which basically will allow you kind of, with the text being written automatically in about 5 to 10 minutes maximum, you can set up your campaign with a couple of A/B tests. Those tests could be pictures, but they can also be text. So you can start testing different texts, and then in that way you can start looking what resonates with your audience. So this will allow you to do automatic tracking, setting up the campaigns, and optimize the campaigns in function of the A/B results and the tests coming in. So there you go.
All right.
We'll share a free trial, a link, so you can start testing that yourself if you're interested.
Yes. Now, how much budget do you need to provide to run campaigns on social media? Well, on the Meta, Facebook and Instagram, you can do this for at least minimum €1 a day, which is, of course, we don't really recommend. It's less to actually run good campaigns and to do A/B testing. What we recommend is to do €40 a day. 40, yes. So you can actually upload lots of pictures, and you can actually A/B test those pictures and also maybe some copy. On TikTok, you need to have at least minimum €20 a day. So just keep in mind that Meta is way cheaper actually to come to good candidates.
Maybe just to put a total number on there, because from our experience, if we look at use of our software, obviously the budget will depend on how difficult is the region, how difficult is the function. But just to manage expectations, don't expect to spend less than about €300 to €400. I think that's kind of a minimum where you need to go. And then for more difficult functions, because there needs to be more testing, more A/B testing, you'd be looking at a budget for about 1,200, 1,500 media budget that you need to see. And then we're talking engineers, 3 languages, niche sectors. That's the kind of budget you see. So between 400 to 1,500 euros for a total campaign. And then you'll be running a campaign between a week to a month. Also, don't forget that even if you don't get applications, we have been talking about employer branding. You are reaching people. So if you would be spending €50 per day, depending on the country, but you're looking at 10,000, 12,000 impressions per day. So also keep that in mind when you do campaign on social media, is that you get a very broad reach for a very cheap price, right? And even if people don't apply, they will have seen your brand. And if your message is specific, attractive, different than real, they'll remember it, right? And it might come in at a later stage.
Mm-hmm. Now, we often get the question, what defines the cost of your campaign on social media? Well, first of all, it's a bidding platform. So you're bidding against other competitors that also want to reach your target audience. Secondly, there is something, it's a bit of a black box, estimated action rates. Facebook and TikTok will actually see how your profile is performing on the platform, how your campaigns are performing, and they will actually give you a rate. Of course, you don't really know that rate. So like I said, it's a bit of a black box, but it will also keep it in mind to define your cost. And then the third one, of course, you can pay for advertisement placements on those social media platforms, but they also want you to give some value to the users. If people are scrolling and they click on your advertisement, come to your website, and they are immediately away, then of course Facebook will know this, and they will increase the cost, and your campaign won't be running as successful. So keep those things in mind because it will increase or decrease your cost.
All right.
Okay. Then.
Okay, well,
yes.
we'll wrap up. We'll just for 1 minute, maybe just briefly explain what our software does. As you know, when we talked about when you kind of want to go live with a campaign, you have a setup phase where our software will help you with building your employer brand page so you can talk about your values, show some testimonials from your team, and again, keep James' messages in mind, make it specific, attractive, real, authentic. This is another customer versus existing marketing. So you can see, you can use existing templates to always give a different message. Our software will help you develop your campaign, do some A/B testing, test what is working well, and then when your campaigns go live, it'll help you managing candidates coming in, optimizing your campaigns completely automatically. So all these different steps you can do yourself, and as we mentioned, go to our academy. We'll explain you how you can do that yourself. There's no magic involved. If you have the time to spend it, you can do that yourself. Or obviously, you can kind of use our software. Then we'll do all the hard stuff, the tracking, optimization, A/B testing. We'll do for you. The only thing you have to do is think about your vacancy text, visuals, and then follow up with your candidates. So again, I think we have shared the link to the trial. It's completely free. You can obviously, if you want to kind of go live, you'll have to pay for the advertising budget yourself. We're not that generous yet, but we'll give you at least the software for free so you can do some testing and see what works for you. And then we'll just go to the questions. And while we go to the Q&A, I'm just going to come back to the question we had in the beginning about the employer brand initiatives. I can't see the results anymore. That's annoying. Let me just check where I can. Sorry, no, I can't see the results. So we asked the question about how are you doing in employer brand initiatives, and actually 72% of the audience is doing some activities, 25% haven't started yet, and only 3% are fully running and up and running with their employer brand campaign. So, I think we came at a good time for those people. So let's see if there are still some questions in the chat, but I think we actually tackled most of these. Yeah. So this is the time. We'll just talk. We'll wait for a couple of minutes to see if you have any specific questions still for James or for us. Maybe, James, while we're waiting, and I know it's a bit of a difficult question, but what would for you be a brand or a company doing a stellar job on employer branding? We're saying, well, these guys nailed it. Or is it difficult to kind of?
It's hard to say.
It's hard to say. Okay.
Yeah, because really you're trying to say, look, there's a great quote that I think every employer brander should have tattooed on the top of their head, which is, the genius is the one most like themselves. You are not competing with McDonald's. You're not competing with Google unless you are, right? Most companies are competing with a smaller set of audiences or smaller set of options. You don't have to compete against everyone. You're competing against them. So figure out what makes you interesting and different and engaging, and just turn the volume up. So many companies sound like every other company. You look at their social, you look at their career site, you look at their job posting, and you cover up the logo and you can't guess who this company is. And that's the problem. It's not about big splashy campaigns. It's not about big splashy. And to Emma's point, who asked the question, if you don't have any unique benefits, it's not necessarily about unique benefits. It's really about what do you offer? What do you care about? And there's a couple of tricks I like to leverage when I'm developing an employer brand. I like to ask the question, first off, look at your competition, look at their social media and their career site and say, what do they talk about the most? Are they always talking about innovation? Are they always talking about support? Are they always, or are they all over the map? In that case, if all your competitors are all over the map, a singular focus creates differentiation. You all know Volvo. Volvo is a tiny little Swedish car company, which 60 years ago broke into the market. It's a Swedish car company. My God, Swedish. They have no right to succeed in this business. You got the Americans, you got the Japanese, you got the Germans. Swedish, really? And they won. They did really, really well by focusing on one specific idea. We are the safe car. Were they reliable too? Yeah. Were they attractive too? I mean, everybody's sense of taste is different. Were they cost effective? Sure. Did they talk about that stuff? Not till down the conversation. Every commercial, every touch point, safe, safe, safe. Drive a Volvo off a cliff, slams into the pavement. Everybody survives. Safe, 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 safe. By creating that focal point, you completely show how you're different. It's not a game anymore of being better because everybody's better to somebody else. It's a question of how clearly you can create that differentiation. How are you different from every other company? If you go to if I think about going to the grocery store, I have all these different types of detergent and soaps. How do I choose? They all are functionally the same. Anybody who stands out by being a little different is the one I pick just by virtue of them being different. It's all about that. So if you're not commoditized, and you're not because you're staffed by actual human beings who are not commodities, tell me what they care about. Tell me what they enjoy. It doesn't have to be a completely brand new clean sheet of paper, amazing universe, crazy company. It can just be, look, we let our dogs into the office. It can be as simple as that. You can be the company that cares about your pets. And yeah, it's small. It is not life-changing, but it is a difference that allows you to hook the rest of your messages. Once Volvo got you to understand that they were safe, then they could mention how reliable they were. Then they could mention how cost-effective they were. Then they could mention fuel efficiency. But if they tried to compete against Toyota and BMW and Ford with those messages, no one would have ever heard of them. By being something different, they create space for themselves to build and grow their own company. So, Emma, I hope that's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's a question from Geert on talking about, we did talk a lot about meta, and I think that's true. If you're okay, James, we would like maybe to take this question because we have quite a bit of data on that. And again, when we talk about data, we talk about advertising data. You want to take this question or?
What is the question? Sorry.
So the question was, what about LinkedIn in employer branding and recruiting?
Okay. So, well, of course, you can definitely use LinkedIn to do employer branding. What we see and what we actually learned is that it's not as performing as Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, because on LinkedIn, there are, of course, lots of recruiters, lots of headhunters looking for top talent, but not everyone is on LinkedIn to search for a job, You can actually reach more passive candidates on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, because there you can pop out with your attractive vacancy ads, with your attractive pictures, etc. So what we see is we offer also LinkedIn. I mean, we do also campaigns on LinkedIn, but it's not as effective and it's way more expensive to get an outcome of it.
Maybe just to put a number on that, the CPM, so the cost per 1,000 impressions on LinkedIn, tends to be about 5 to 6 times as much as the one on the other channels, which also means that you actually have to outperform with your campaign. So your campaign has to deliver 5 to 6 more candidates, right? Versus Facebook, which is very, very unlikely. And therefore, from a cost-effective perspective, and that's also what our algorithm is doing. Our algorithm is comparing different channels, is kind of, making sure your euros are spent as efficient as possible. And that's why we also see that LinkedIn tends to kind of, not be used as much as it was a year or two ago. There's a lot more reasons, and actually we're planning to do a webinar on that soon. So that's that's why, our data shows that, for the things we are doing for our customers, where they are using our software, they're better off with those channels. Maybe James, I'm not sure, because you also have some view of organic posting. Maybe you want to chip in there?
Yeah, I think you have to understand that LinkedIn is inherently different from Facebook. And I think a lot of people who don't get into LinkedIn, they just treat it like Facebook for business. And it's not. It's much more, people show up to it for a different reason. People show up on Facebook to see pictures of their friends' cats and their kids, right? And vacation photos. It's fun. It's light. And okay, a passive message can get absorbed relatively quickly. A small, tight, snappy message like, oh yeah, sure, I'm interested. It's easy. You keep the bar low. On LinkedIn, you have to assume anybody on LinkedIn is not looking for pictures of cats. They're not looking for pictures of vacations. What they're doing is usually trying to learn something. So if you can couch your content on LinkedIn around, I'm going to teach you something. So for example, if you're hiring, I saw one of those ads for a technical manager, a technical supervisor. If you had a video that talks about 4 ways their technical supervisors succeed in what you can learn from their technical managers, whatever that role was, that video will get clicks. That video will get attention. That video is more tailored to a LinkedIn audience. Now, having done that, then you follow up with the job ask. Then you can say, hey, having provided something of value to you, if you found that interesting, if you want more of that, we exist here. So it's a slightly different strategy, than a classical, truly social media, your TikToks, your Facebooks, your Instagram, where it's very transactional. It's about how do I get the click? In LinkedIn, it's about how do I begin to build a relationship? It's not radically different, but it's different enough that the tactics that succeed on Facebook and TikTok won't play out as well on LinkedIn, and probably vice versa. So treat them as very different. It's a very different channel because it really is.
Yeah, very good point. Just follow-up question on Cecilia on the quality of candidates, Facebook versus LinkedIn. Yes, I think it's a good question to ask. Going to the conclusion on that, we see we get as many good candidates and even better candidates from from Facebook as we do from LinkedIn. I'm coming back on my point. Your campaign has to be 5 to 6 times better to outperform Facebook, and even on the quality of the candidates, because we don't only track the candidates applying to our software, we also see what customers are doing and, whom they are taking to the next round, whom they are hiring, because we have visibility on that. So we do track that data, and there we don't see significant upsides from LinkedIn, unfortunately. Well, a long question from Guillaume. James, I'll let you read it because it's obviously there for you.
All right. So yes. So this is where we're getting into the nuts and bolts of how to build a brand. And this is where I live. So I love these questions. So an employer brand comes from 4 major, these are the 4 legs of the stool, so to speak. So the first is, what do employees think about the company today? What is their experience? How do they rate it? What do they talk about? What's good? What's bad? It's very much what is the baseline? What is the experience on the ground? The second thing is, what does leadership say the company is going towards? Are they going to grow quickly? Are they going to buy a bunch of other companies? Are they going to have a steady growth? Are they going to change industries? Are they going to shift their product offerings? What is the future of the company? That's the second pillar. The third pillar is, what does the candidate you want to hire want? Not everybody wants the same things. Some people want to maximize their paycheck and they will do anything to get 10 more euros per year. And honestly, there's nothing you can do. No amount of perks, no amount of supportive environment will kind of change their mind. It's all about maximization of compensation. Some people work for a mission. Some people work to push themselves. Some people work to produce their best work. Some people work to create status for themselves. Some people work in places where they feel supported, and that's what drives them. And there's about 10 motivations generally that people are driven by when they choose what to work for. So if you're a law firm, guess what? Most of the people you're trying to hire are driven by compensation and status. That's just generally how lawyers do. The third one is often a autonomy driver, but rarely about support. Law firms are cutthroat. They're shark tanks, right? This is not a place where people go for hugs and kisses, right? This is a place where they work their butts off to do amazing work. But there's a nonprofit somewhere that is the exact opposite of that. It's all about support. It's all about focus on this broader mission. So understanding what your core candidates want is the third pillar. The fourth is, what are your options? What is that person's options? If they're a nurse in a smaller town, their options are, well, I could work at that hospital, I could work at those 2 clinics, or I could work at those 3 practices. End of list. That's all the options I got. I can't suddenly become a fry cook, right? I can't suddenly make a hospital and work at a brand new hospital. But if I'm a lawyer in New York City, the options are relatively infinite. So understanding the options for a candidate has relative to you is the fourth pillar. Once you understand those 4 things, usually brand differentiation comes into focus a lot more readily. It's not about, very often leadership says, oh, we're all about this amazing thing. Yeah, look, for example, biotech and pharma companies love to tell you how their company is all about innovation and saving lives. Here's the problem. That's what all pharma companies are supposed to be about. They're about making new pills and compounds to save lives. That is why they exist. So to create a differentiated position around the fact that they all do the same thing is like every car company saying, we're a great car. We got 4 whole wheels. Isn't that amazing? It's every car has 4 wheels. So you have to figure out what's beyond that. So does some of it come from staff? Yes. And if they don't believe it, if you foist a brand differentiation on that staff who doesn't believe it, doesn't see it, it's very hard to create advocates inside the company. And honestly, I would question whether it's real. And that's the thing. That's the fourth part of it. If it's not real, don't bother. But there is a level of judicious choosing because really this kind of branding is about isolation and amplification. Find 1 or 2 things that make you interesting and different, turn up the volume to 11. Does that mean all the other things are not true? No, much like Volvo, it's still reliable, but you focus exclusively on safety. That's how you create clear differentiation. People go, oh, I get it.
And Kian completely agrees with you. So I think that's fantastic. Thanks, James. We're kind of going up to the hour, which is what we promised the webinar would take, and also the time we booked with James. So I think we'll just kind of maybe share contact details so you can see where James can be reached on LinkedIn and on his website. I kind of want to. I'm a huge fan of his last book on building an employer brand for smaller businesses, which from a European perspective is less known. Yeah, there it is. And there's a great 12-step approach in there to help you build your own employer brand. We obviously hope that once you have that brand, you use our software to push it online. Maybe we should give a trial to the people reading your book, James, and do a co-partnership there. So James, thank you very much for showing up. I'll let Stephanie maybe finalize the presentation.
Well, I just want to say, if you still have some more questions in the next couple of days, next couple of weeks, you can always reach out to us. We're really happy to help you with all your employer brands online. And I just want to launch one more poll because we're always very curious about what do you think about the webinar that we just gave. We know there were some technical issues, but I hope you found it interesting, and we'll definitely hope to see you again in one of our webinars or maybe in our software. And James, I really want to thank you once again to making some time for us. It was really, really interesting. So thanks again.
It was a blast.
All right.
All right. Thanks
Cheers.
Everyone for joining us, and hope to see you again.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.